And we would like to welcome Rob Crain to the program. He's the former president of the Dallas Bar Association, and he recently teamed up with Reverend Richie Butler, and he's a senior pastor in Dallas. They have created a national initiative called Together We Can. And this morning he is here to bring us up to speed on the controversy concerning the Dilbert cartoon. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you all?
Doing well, doing well. So apparently, Rob, the downfall of Scott Adams, who is the creator of Dilbert, has been pretty swift.
You know, this has been it's been sad in so many ways. It's obviously started some conversations, which are a healthy thing. But, he was, the Dilbert cartoon, we all know the Dilbert cartoon. It was kind of the predecessor of the really popular television show, The Office.
Mm-hmm.
It brought satire to the office place. And, he's obviously extremely talented individual and a brilliant an artist as well. So, this has been sad in many ways, and he's lost his circulation to a number, hundreds of newspapers and so forth. But, for those who haven't heard, he had a interview on a podcast where he went forth and reviewed a poll and that stated that roughly 47%, I believe, of black people did not want to be around white people. That was a poll that was brought about by a group that was using language that had been promulgated by some far right-wing groups. It was not something you should really rely upon in espousing public opinions, but he did. It went viral quickly, and it cost him his circulation of the Dilbert cartoon. So that's what happened, and it's had a lot of reverberations, of course.
And did he say? One of the things that he said later, I guess, was that the cancellation was predictable. Like he could see it coming after he said that, right?
He did. He's in his subsequent interviews. He's not apologized or said what he said was wrong or anything like that. He said he was trying to bring attention to an area that needed attention. It certainly is not a healthy way of bringing it about. But what I think, is important, and what we do with our group is we bring about positive discussions on the issues of race. Mm-hmm. And there are always opportunities in moments like this. And the word cancellation has been used with Mr. Adams in regards to Dilbert. And that's happened in his professional life. But individuals such as us, none of us should ever cancel one another, period. We should take each other where we are. And what we really focus on with our group is, Mr. Adams is an incredibly talented human being who brings a lot to our society and has brought a lot to our society. And it would be great to have a conversation with him, a positive conversation with him about why he has the thoughts that he does, and maybe have thoughts or conversations with him with people who have had a different journey in life. And that's what we do. We bring about conversations with folks who really enlighten one another's lives just through talking about each other's journeys. Because I have different parents than you. I had different mentors than you. I have different experiences in life as you. I've read different books and movies than you. And that's true for every single one of us. And so we have different thoughts and ideas. What enriches our life is really having conversations with others who have different viewpoints. And, Mr. Adams is somebody that we should talk with and not cancel. And that's really what we urge, is people to have open-mindedness and learn from one another. But certainly he's having challenges now with his professional circulation from it. And there are consequences to actions like that.
And the Together We Can movement, it seems, would work for so many situations on so many levels that are happening today. And you have tools that you try to help educate and enable and empower folks. What are some of those tools?
You bet. So each month we just send out an email each month, and it has, a common theme to it as to, whether it's Native American Heritage Month or Black History Month or, Jewish Heritage Month, whatever it may be that involves differences. We all have differences, not just skin color, not just religions, but we all have differences and viewpoints and so forth. So what we do each month is we'll hit a topic, and we'll provide links to really a lot of history, things that I didn't learn about growing up. I didn't learn about the Tulsa Race Massacre, and I didn't even know that there was a Wilmington, is in North Carolina, Wilmington area massacre as well, Wilmington Race Massacre. I didn't know that it actually even happened until somebody brought it up to me a few months ago. And it's part of our history. It's not something that we don't judge the actors in history, but what we provide each month oftentimes revolves around history that we haven't learned, so that we don't repeat those things that happened in the past. But we look at things in a very positive way, because our country has its own unique history, and it does have things that we need to learn from that aren't things that were necessarily happy happened in the past. But where we have come from our past to where we are now, we need to be very proud of, regardless of what subject it is. We need to look it in the eye, be proud of it, because we are the greatest country on the planet, and we need to be that shining beacon of not just of who we are now, but where we've come from and where we're going. So that's what we do with our messaging each month, is we provide education, we provide thoughts and perspectives from others, and do so in a positive, non-judgmental way.
Well, we've gone, like you say, we have made all kinds of progress. Is there still progress to be made? Yeah, of course there always will be. But we're not going to stop. People are not going to stop congregating in either a city or a section of a city or at a church or at a restaurant or anywhere else or around people that they like to be around naturally. Now, there's some things we blend better with others. In some situations, we're able to blend better, but that's just kind of the nature of mammals. It's not that
doubt.
strange.
I remember listening to one of the generals in our military, and talking about the lack of diversity in the senior ranks, and he said ducks follow ducks, as far as their types, they're all and we do that as human beings, just as you mentioned. It's natural, and it's not something that needs to necessarily change. That there's nothing wrong with that, of course. You're absolutely right. There's enrichment, though, in learning about new things and seeing new places and all of that. That's a big part of life. But you're absolutely right. It doesn't change the dynamic of how God made us and where we're comfortable and so forth. But we do find enrichment from learning about new things and new people and new places.
Oh yeah, and I would even go a step further and say a lot of the major social changes that have happened and are going to happen in the future if we don't X these people out, but have happened in the past, have probably been led by comedians and humorists pointing out our weaknesses in a way that when we hear it, we kind of laugh and then we go, "Oh yeah, that's who we are." As opposed to damaging us
yes.
with their humor.
That's right. That's so insightful. And it's, that satire and that, looking in the mirror, we can do it in a funny way because, God made us. My wife and I were talking about this last night. There are a few questions I've got for God when I get up there one day, and the humor that is part of humanity, is such that we need to celebrate that. And you're right, we learn from it so well.
And let me ask you, Rob, was there one specific? You're kind of reminded me of people like Lenny Bruce and others that got in trouble for their comments way back in the 50s and 60s. But was there one specific incident that compelled you and the Reverend to create this group?
Great question, and I'm going to give you two quick answers. I appreciate y'all's time. we started our Together We Dine program where we sit around and people talk to each other or talk with each other about issues of race through their own personal histories. We started that after the 5 police officers were shot and killed in downtown Dallas. They were protecting peaceful protesters, folks who were protesting social and racial injustice in America. And people, we saw after that event, people were talking past one another, and they weren't listening to one another. And so we started the program of Together We Dine to really have a structured program where folks who wanted to have a discussion could have a productive one. And it's been unbelievable now. We've had thousands, tens of thousands of people participate now virtually and online. The Together We Can program, similarly, after the murder of George Floyd, we had a lot of people in America who were like, hey, I want to do my small part here. How can I help? And every answer we saw given by a so-called expert on television, they said, well, go to a forum or go, talk to your public official or whatever it may be. And I'm like, that's not satisfactory. I mean, there needs to be something where we can walk our walk of being somebody who, as we're having this conversation today, is somebody that's open to other people's viewpoints and ideas. And so from watching all the experts after the murder of George Floyd not really give satisfactory answers, we created Together We Can, where people can each month, take less than an hour, while they're in their car or exercising or whatever it may be, and listen to who we are as Americans and the great things that have happened in our history and how we can approach things and maybe from a different viewpoint at times. That's what was the motivation behind Together We Can. So, yeah, two major events in my lifetime up here in Dallas and across the country motivated us to provide something that's different and positive and non-judgmental.
Well, that is great. This morning we have been speaking with Rob Crain. He is former president of the Dallas Bar Association. And like I said, he has teamed up with Reverend Richie Butler, senior pastor in Dallas, and they have launched the national initiative called Together We Can. And Rob, tell our listeners where they might find you guys.
You bet. TogetherWeCan.one, ONE, is where you can find information about Together. And Together We Dine, you can find it through there as well. It's on a different site, but TogetherWeCan.one, you'll find us, get to the information.
All right, Rob Crain, thank you so much for taking the time.
Anytime. Thank you all for having this discussion.
You bet.